And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for waiting. I've been updating a lot of Let's Plays on the channel lately, which I know is pretty rare for me. It's not something you typically see from Rule of Two Review. You know, I like to sometimes scatter them about, and I hadn't done one in a while. I got caught up in Destiny. I started the Metroid Prime 2 Let's Play, and it's been a lot of fun. I just like to post the occasional video because what I'm playing is what I like to share sometimes, and that's why we do this wonderful hobby, and I just felt like sharing the cool things that I've been doing. So that's been great. There hasn't been a lot of news to talk about, so I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, but I've had this idea in my head for a while, so I figured this was the perfect time to do it, to sort of break up some of the Let's Play stuff for anyone who maybe isn't too into that. So what I'm talking about today is the holiday, the upcoming holiday for 2015. Holiday is always a big time in gaming, as we all know. It's when we get it's when we get hardware launches, when a new system is going to be coming out. It's when all of the tentpole releases for any of the console manufacturers or the PC market starts to release. It's the time where everyone comes together to say, this is the biggest and best that we have, and we want to put it out, we want to sell it to you, and we want you to love it and make us a bunch of money. That's basically what everyone's trying to do here in the industry. And that's why Holiday is, as much as it's a bunch of companies really working together to just make as much money in as small of a period of time as possible, it is a time where we, the gamers, can sort of consider it a win for us. You know, we really luck out here because we get a lot of great games to play. A lot of awesome things always come out every year during the holiday. Sometimes too much, and that can be a problem for our wallets, of course. You know, it becomes a very expensive endeavor. It sort of reminds us how expensive this hobby and industry really is when all of these things start coming out together, you know, especially in a year like we had 2 years ago in 2013 when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One launched within a week of each other. That's a rough time for anyone like myself who planned on owning both of those platforms, and getting them both right at launch becomes a really daunting task and a really expensive endeavor, and that's never fun. So spending money sucks, but still the holiday is always a good time. What I wanted to do was spend some time discussing what it is that I am going to be playing this year for Holiday 2015. Of course, we know there's a lot of games for all the different platforms and a lot of games that everyone may be playing this year. No one is going to be playing the same kind of games that I am, and I'm not going to be playing the same kind of games that you might be, and you might not be playing the same kind of games as your neighbor might be. You know, everyone has their own tastes, and there's a lot of different games for all the different manufacturers to choose from, and that's a great thing. So I felt like I wanted to share what it is I'll be playing for each of the 3 home consoles this holiday, because I think that hidden within the funness of this list and these games to talk about and my excitement for them is a different message. And as you can tell from the title of this video, which is what are you going to be playing this holiday and why the Wii U still matters, I feel like there is a point to the momentum of the Wii U that still is interesting, I feel, considering everything we've talked about with E3, the NX, is Nintendo moving on, there's nothing for Wii U in 2016, all these things. I still think there's an interesting point to be made here. So with that, I'm going to start with what it is that I will be playing on the Wii U this year. And again, it's interesting because we know Nintendo had a horrible E3, unfortunately. At least their presentation, their digital event was not great. It showed us that they had no new surprises, nothing brand new to release this year in 2015 for the Wii U, when we all expected quite a few great things, and if anything, some surprise announcements for next year, for 2016. None of that was there. Very, very disappointing. But as I said in my video that I made about Nintendo right after their digital event, it really shouldn't take away from the great games that they are still releasing this year. There's a lot to play on the Wii U. And what's great is it's all exclusive. And that's, you know, when I really talk about why I wanted to make this list, it should be noted, I should get into this real quick. This, again, is a list of only games I'm going to play. And I'm not really including indie games because I really don't get too into them, you know. And I know a lot of people do, and that's fine. And that's actually great because there are great indie games out there, don't get me wrong. I don't really get into them. I'm not really factoring it into this list because I don't really think that indies really work to sell you on a console, for example. A lot of this is, why do we play these games? And what are the exclusive libraries that we can be excited to play on our boxes this year? If you're a Wii U fan, an Xbox One fan, a PlayStation 4 fan, what are the exclusive games that sells you and sells other gamers on your favorite machine? Or on any of these one machines? You know, whether or not one is your favorite or not, it's not really about picking sides, but that's kind of the purpose of this list. So, again, when discussing the Wii U, the great thing Nintendo always has is exclusives. And this year, despite a really crummy E3 and no surprises for holiday, they've got a pretty great list of games. Just in a couple of weeks, Super Mario Maker comes out. That game looks fantastic, and I've been more and more excited the more we've seen. Of course, we know E3 and the Nintendo World Championships just did wonders to sell myself and many other gamers on Super Mario Maker. Cannot be more pumped. That's a game I'm excited for because I know that I'm really not going to have to make any levels to have a ton of levels to play. We know that there's going to be millions of gamers out there, really creative people making awesome levels to play. And so because it's going to be such a community-based thing, just like with Little Big Planet, I'm not going to have any dearth of content to find to play in that game. You won't find any dearth of content. And anyone who's good at making levels, which that's the kind of thing that I'm just not good at, nor do I have the patience for it, anyone who's good at that, you're going to have a ball. So Mario Maker is going to be great. It's going to sell very, very well. Not too long after, I think in October, Yoshi's Woolly World comes out. Now, I know that in the UK, or is it maybe not the UK? I know Australia and Japan already has that game. And I don't know if the UK is kind of bundled with the Australian market, but I know that it's out in a couple territories already. Here in North America, we don't have it yet, which sucks. I cannot wait. It's totally my kind of game. That awesome Nintendo 2D platforming, and I love what they did with Epic Yarn. I think Yoshi's going to be amazing. Cannot wait for that. Going to be a huge game for me this year, personally. Devil's Third. Now, Devil's Third has been a... Sorry, guys. I think I'm getting a little sick, so I'm clearing my throat a little more than usual, so I'm sorry about that. Devil's Third is a game that's been... It's been in the news a lot lately, and not entirely for positive reasons, which is a shame. But, you know, I am still damned excited for that game. I think it looks like a ton of fun. It looks like the kind of game that just appeals to me, even as a huge Nintendo fan, and I like their things like Yoshi games and Kirby games and stuff like that. It's like, you know what, man? Devil's Third is just my kind of off-the-wall, kooky, overly mature, violent, and sexy game. Like, I like that stuff too, you know? I've said this before in a recent video. What Devil's Third reminds me of is like a Suda51 game. And if you've ever heard me talk about Suda, boy, will I gush. Suda51 is like my favorite dude in the industry, man. I have loved every game that I've played from him. No More Heroes, the first one, and Killer 7, top 10 all-time games for me. So that kind of quirky, over-the-top, humorous, yet still really violent and mature game is what Fatal Frame looks like, just like what Suda makes. And so I think that the game may be rough around the edges, and some people talk about the mechanical soundness of some aspects or this and that. I don't really care. I feel like that game has to fill a very niche void for me to be considered really good and fun for me. I have a very specific standard I'm bringing into Devil's Third, and while I can't say with 100% certainty I'm going to love it, I feel pretty good that it's going to work just fine for me, unless it's utterly broken. Previews went from really piss poor the last couple of months to starting to get better from gamers who are actually playing this game now the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to ride that positive wave into the game's release sometime before the end of this year and just be really excited. Another huge game for the Wii U I am personally massively excited for. Fatal Frame 5. Oh my god, so happy that Nintendo decided to finally confirm that this game was coming to the West, which I said from day one that it would. I made several videos talking about it. You can go back and hear me saying that. I knew that game would come out here. It is coming out here. Physical retail copy. Thank you, Nintendo. So smart. That game's going to be amazing. I love horror games. I love the horror genre. I love horror movies. I love horror video games. I think that this is the kind of game that Nintendo needs on the Wii U. It's gorgeous. It's very mature and dark and scary. And it also is going to be a wonderful use of the gamepad. And I cannot wait to play a game like that that does all those great things together in one awesome package. Fatal Frame 5, it's flying under the radar in the States right now, and it's really too bad. It is already released in Japan. But to be fair, Nintendo's kind of dropping the ball in the marketing in North America, so I'm hoping that picks up soon. I don't think we have an official release date. I think it's just pending for October. Either way, goddamn, that game is going to be so good. Cannot wait for Fatal Frame 5. Two more big ones. They're very obvious. A game that is almost my most anticipated game for the end of the year, Star Fox Zero. As you've heard me say, the return of Star Fox will be mighty. I fully believe in that game. Yes, the visuals might not quite be living up to what we were expecting, but we know it's got a pretty short development. But Nintendo, Shigeru Miyamoto, and some guys from Platinum Games, are working together hard to make that game awesome. I fully believe in the gamepad integration. It looks like it's going to just play like an amazing Star Fox game again. I can't wait to have my man Fox McCloud back, man. It's one of my all-time favorite series, and it's going to be amazing. So Star Fox Zero, cannot wait. And then the last huge one, Xenoblade Chronicles X. I am, of course, a huge fan of Xenoblade Chronicles, just like many of you are. I actually purchased the GameStop exclusive Day 1 launch copy, and I still have it. I played the original Xenoblade like crazy. I've sunk like 100 hours into that game. You could easily sink more in. It's a huge game. Xenoblade Chronicles X is one of the best-looking games I've ever seen visually, and it looks like it's going to be an amazing world and a great story, and we know it's going to have online integration, gamepad integration, free and very cheap DLC down the road. I think that there's great things happening with Xenoblade Chronicles X, so that's another amazing, very high-profile exclusive game for the Wii U. That right there is 6 exclusive high-profile games for the Wii U this year. Those are amazing games. That's a great lineup. Mario Maker, Yoshi's Woolly World, Devil's Third, Fatal Frame 5, Star Fox Zero, Xenoblade. And that's not forgetting the fact that just like all of the consoles I'll talk about today, there's bound to be a couple that I might have missed. I went through quick lists for each of the consoles. I might have missed something. There might be something that you're very into that I didn't bring up. But again, these are games that I'm going to play. And I know there's games like Freedom Planet, which actually looks like a really good indie game that I know I'm going to play. Probably a ton of other indie games that many people could start yelling at me. I just don't get into indies, so it's not what I, Rob, am going to be playing this holiday on my Wii U. But I am going to play those 6 amazing games. That's a really exciting thing, man. The time of the Wii U is sort of now. Like I said before, if they had announced most or all of these games at E3 to be coming out this year, it would have been one of the best E3s in Nintendo's history. That's a stacked lineup right there, those 6 games. Not to mention, again, some games I probably didn't even mention. So, pretty good things going on in the Wii U. Very excited to be using my Nintendo machine this holiday. So, moving on to the Xbox One, here's where we get into some tricky things. Things are going to start to thin out here a little bit. So, Xbox One does have some great games. Some very, very great exclusives to play this year. So, 3 exclusives that I will be playing on the Xbox One this holiday. The big, number 1, Halo 5. Cannot wait for Halo 5. A little disappointed that E3 showed us that we will be playing a Spartan lock through part of that game. That was a huge disappointment for me because I lived through the Arbiter in Halo 2, and I can accept it for Halo 2, and when I go back and play Halo 2, it's still good, even with the Arbiter. But I was like, let's just make this a one-and-done thing, man. We don't need to do this again. And Halo 5, I don't think needed to do this to make the game feel new and fresh, personally. That being said, Spartan Locke is obviously going to be a very interesting character, very important as a foil to Master Chief. Excited to see how that is going to bring a new story element into the game. So I'm excited for the character, just not to play as the character. I just want to play Master Chief. It's Halo, give me Master Chief, the end. That's all I want to do. So we'll see how that plays out. But that being said, massively excited for Halo 5. I think it's going to be potentially the biggest selling exclusive game this year. It's probably definitely going to be that. Because a couple of key games got pushed to next year, as we of course know. We won't get into that. So, Halo 5, going to be amazing for the Xbox One, going to be huge for the Xbox One. The other big one, Rise of the Tomb Raider, which we know is only exclusive for a year, but it's exclusive this year, this holiday for the Xbox One. It's going to be huge for Microsoft. I ain't waiting a year to play that on the PS4. F that. I'm getting it on the Xbox One. Day 1. I cannot wait to play Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's going to be great. At E3, they showed not exciting stuff. They showed, as my main man Terminator Juice liked to call it, the Michael Bay moment, where it's just her running and jumping on walls and things are falling around and exploding. It wasn't real gameplay. It wasn't Lara Croft existing in the world like we know it's going to be, or raiding tombs like they've told us that will be in the game. So that was a shame. The Gamescom stuff was much, much better, and I still fully believe in the game. Even though they haven't, entirely shown the best parts of the game, we know what to expect, and it's going to be awesome. So can't wait for Rise of the Tomb Raider. That's going to be huge for the Xbox One. Also, the Gears of War Ultimate Edition remake, remaster of the original game. I am very excited for that. Yes, it's a remaster, so it's kind of in that gray area, but it doesn't change how great I think it's going to be. First Gears of War, one of my all-time favorite games. Even though it is a remaster and a last-gen remaster, at least it's a game that's 9 years old, so it's going to get a little bit of a pass, I think, in that respect. This isn't a Last of Us scenario where it was released as a remaster the very next year. This is almost a decade, and I think that is a cool thing. And First Gears of War is so good. If they make it look and play just a little bit better and add a couple things for the Ultimate Edition, I am so down. And I think it's only $40, maybe $50. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a discounted price. Even if it's not, I don't care. I'm very excited for it. Now, there are two other... Here's where we get into the tricky stuff. 2 other exclusive games for the Xbox One that I could find that I won't be playing and I'm not interested in. They're worth bringing up. Forza 6 and Fable Legends. Forza's a huge series, so I know people are going to play that and it's going to do well. But it's not a game I'm going to play. And Fable Legends, when I saw it was multiplayer only, get out of here. No interest in that. I only want an actual Fable game. I was expecting a brand new Fable game, and it's not. It's a multiplayer thing. Not excited. So Microsoft, you almost had me buying a new Fable game until you decided to make it stupid, and so now I'm not buying it. But there you go, man. Only 3 exclusive games I'm going to be playing this year that I could find. And again, I ran through a quick list. I didn't see anything else that stood out. That's not a lot of games. Granted, they're going to be great games, and the quantity is more important than, the quality is more important than the quantity, absolutely without question. But it is kind of a shame, that that's all that's going on in the Xbox One. We're coming into year 2 here of the Xbox One and the PS4. You would think that there would be more games. By the second year of the Wii U's life cycle, it had an amazing year. There was a lot of good games coming out at that time. But, anyway, it is what it is. So then we get into Sony and the PlayStation 4. Now, again, obviously I'm talking about this because I own all these consoles. I have a Wii U, an Xbox One, and a PlayStation 4. I like them all. I enjoy them all. I've been actually playing my PlayStation 4 a lot lately. So I do enjoy it. It's a good machine. But goddamn, they have nothing coming out this year. What is happening at Sony? And people are buying this machine like crazy. We've all had that conversation. I mean, I'm not going to really repeat it again and beat a dead horse again. But people are buying the PlayStation 4 like crazy. There's nothing to play on it. It's insane. So let's see. Here is the one exclusive that I could find that I personally will be playing. And this is not a game that is really appealing to many people. Until Dawn. I'm excited for that game. I think it's actually going to be potentially very cool. I love the atmosphere and the setting. I love the fact that Hayden Panettiere is in it. I think she's awesome. She's one of my favorite actresses. I loved her as Claire on Heroes. So I'm excited for what that game seems to be. And what it's going to be doing is like trying to be a horror movie. And it's an exclusive game, but that's it. I thought No Man's Sky would still have a tentative release date for this year, and it doesn't, as far as I can tell, which sucks because I'm excited for No Man's Sky. Street Fighter V is going to be great. That's next year. Uncharted 4, as we know, got pushed back, just like Zelda Wii U. So, Uncharted 4 getting pushed back was huge. They've got nothing this year, Sony. And honestly, they didn't really have anything last year either. So really, really concerned about what's going on with Sony, man. I think that I think Microsoft really is going to catch up to them this year pretty hardcore. If the gamers really catch on to the lack of games to play on the PlayStation 4 this holiday, and the fact that the Xbox One and the Wii U have some great games to play on them, man, I mean, it really could help them catch. The Wii U, sadly, we know won't really sell all that well. But the Xbox One has a pretty good chance of trouncing the PlayStation 4 in terms of holiday sales this year. And when I made that video a couple of months ago where I said, yeah, maybe Halo 5 and other things will help the Xbox One start to catch up to PlayStation 4, some people thought I was crazy, but just mark my words, you wait and see. Here I am laying out the games to play on the PlayStation 4. And what are they? They're all of one game, Until Dawn. Now, here's what I need to do. When it comes to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, there are some multi-platform games that I personally will be playing on those two platforms. Since there's nothing else to talk about for the PlayStation 4 other than Until Dawn, I might as well go into the multi-platform stuff. So, Fallout 4, my most anticipated game for this year. I expect it to be my game of the year. If it's not, then the game of the year for me has already come out, and I won't talk about that anymore until I make a list once the year is done. But right now I'm expecting Fallout 4 to be my game of the year. So that I think I'm going to play on the Xbox One. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to be playing it on one of those two systems, probably Xbox One. Now there are 3 games that I am for sure going to be playing on my PlayStation 4. So there are games that I will be playing on my PlayStation 4 this year. However, they're not Sony's games. They're not exclusive games, and they're not selling me or other people a PlayStation 4 necessarily. One of them is because of a bundle that was announced today, but technically it's still not the same thing as being exclusive. So 3 games that I'm very excited to play on my PlayStation 4 this year. Most importantly, Star Wars Battlefront 3. That's going to be amazing. I had very early worries about that game as the huge Star Wars fan that I am, but as I've said a couple times on Rule of Two Review, not too long after those worries were introduced, they showed enough to kind of make me have those fears assuaged, and they are no longer an issue. I'm not really concerned about that game anymore. I think it's just going to be badass. I can't wait for it. That's the kind of game that I want to play on PlayStation 4 because I think it's going to run the best on that system. Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Yes, I'm a Call of Duty sucker. I have no problems admitting it. I'm happy to do so. I love Call of Duty every year, and I think Black Ops 3 could be really awesome. And I've played the last couple Black Ops or Call of Duty games on the PlayStation 4, the Wii U and the PlayStation 4. So Black Ops 3, I'm going to get on the PlayStation 4, and Transformers Devastation, which I'm super pumped about because it's Platinum Games' other new game, and it's a Transformers game, and I love Transformers, and I love Platinum, and the game just looks like a freaking awesome action game where you get to play as Optimus Prime. The end. That's all you need in life, man. Optimus Prime beating the shit out of other robots. Thank you. Very excited for that game. So, on my list here, I've got a total of 6 Wii U games. I have 4 Xbox One games, one that is a multi-platform in Fallout 4, and I have 4 PlayStation 4 games, 3 that are multi-platform games, Battlefront, Black Ops 3, and Transformers. So there's a very interesting dynamic. 6 exclusive Wii U games, 3 exclusive Xbox One games, 1 exclusive PlayStation 4 game. So that's it for the holiday. Wii U owners, myself as a Wii U owner, I got nothing to worry about. Nintendo, they make me nervous after 2015 is over, but for the rest of 2015, Nintendo's doing great. I'm very excited to be gaming on their machine this year. I'm going to be playing it a lot. Mario, Yoshi, Devil's Third, Fatal Frame, Star Fox, Xenoblade, oh my god. Xenoblade is going to take up so much time. I'm so glad it's December 5th. I think it'll be the last game for any platform I purchase in 2015. And that's good because I'm going to need a lot of time. Between that and Fallout on the Xbox, oh my god. Millions of hours to sink into those 2 games. Very exciting. My girlfriend will be very sad. Even though she's a gamer, so she might be playing some other stuff too. We'll see how that works. So that's all that stuff, you know? It's just a very interesting dynamic. And here we are talking about the Wii U's dead, Nintendo's giving up. All the Nintendo and Wii U haters are like, oh, the Wii U sucks. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to play. Well, what about this list? What are you playing on your Xbox or PlayStation that's so amazing compared to all those great exclusive games on the Wii U? Why don't gamers get it? And why aren't gamers buying the Wii U? Why haven't gamers bought the Wii U? Every year, there's been a solid list of anywhere from like 4 to 8 awesome exclusive Wii U games, and people aren't buying it, man. It blows my mind. And there's been less and less games to play on the PlayStation 4, and people are buying that in record numbers. It is insane to me. And so that's kind of why I wanted to make this list and prove this little bit of a point. You know, and again, yes, disclaimer, I am a bigger Nintendo fan than I am Microsoft or Sony. I am a die-hard Nintendo fan. They are my favorite company. They are the best, even though they do mess up a lot. But I have and love an Xbox One, and I have and love a PlayStation 4, so you know me. You guys know me. I'm not slamming the other guys, but we got to look at the facts, man. What is Sony doing wrong that they can't get flipping games already on their machine? But are they really doing anything wrong when they're marketing it so well and people are blindly buying the machine without paying attention to the libraries? Obviously, they're doing some things right, and I'm glad they're having success. I don't wish any ill will on any company, and I don't wish ill will on Sony. I'm frustrated I don't have more great exclusive games to play on my PlayStation 4 this year. That is really disappointing as a PlayStation 4 owner. But whatever. There's 4 games here I listed that I will still be playing on that system. It's just too bad only one of them is exclusive. And to be fair, Until Dawn, Sony isn't really making a huge marketing push for that game. I don't think it's going to be a huge hit. I don't know how good it's going to be. I think it looks good. It might only be mediocre. I hope it's not another Order 1886 kind of situation. And I don't really think it will be. But yeah, man, what's going on? I mean, props to Nintendo. They keep fighting along. Nintendo, gamers, do you realize that Nintendo has been working so hard and fighting so hard for you to give you so many great games to play? If you could see my Wii U collection of games, which is like this big compared to my Xbox and PlayStation 4 collection of games, it's like this is what Nintendo has been doing for you that these other guys aren't doing, and you're not buying their machine. What is the deal, man? It's just really disappointing. And I'm not going to say Nintendo's completely not to blame. They effed up the marketing big time. They made a stupid name with the Wii U, and it took them way too long to sell people on the gamepad. And they even really still haven't done it for a lot of people. So Nintendo shares some blame, don't get me wrong. But when you look at the libraries, what the fuck, man? Why aren't people playing that machine? And as much as I'm down on the fact that Nintendo is looking like they're going to prematurely kill the Wii U, and I think that they're stupid for doing so, I'm going to still give them credit for having some great games, man. I am so excited to play games like Star Fox and Xenoblade and Fatal Frame this year. I'm so excited. As I am for the other games I mentioned. Halo, Star Wars, Tomb Raider, that kind of stuff. It's just, I just think that the proof is kind of in the pudding with this list and how I put it together. Now, one last thing before I wrap up this very long video here is there's some other games that I know could have been brought up in this conversation, games that I won't be playing that will still be very big deals for these consoles. Granted, not one of these is exclusive for any console, but they are big deals and they warrant at least being mentioned in this list. Again, I brought up Forza 6 and Fable Legends as exclusive for the Xbox that I won't be playing, so those games get their credit as for existing for fans of those games. Also, Skylanders is going to be a pretty big deal, and that's coming out for all 3 platforms. So some people will be very excited for that, and that's cool. I'm not into it, but right on. Here are games for, no surprise, just the Xbox and PlayStation, because they enjoy sharing 90% the same library. Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to be huge. Huge. It's going to review well. It's going to be a lot of Game of the Years for a lot of different people, a lot of different websites. So Metal Gear Solid 5 is a big deal. It gets credit for that. Not my thing, but right on. Mad Max, I don't know how I feel about that yet. I haven't seen enough, but it's going to be a fairly high profile release, once it actually comes out for PS4 and Xbox One. Dishonored Definitive Edition, or whatever the hell they're calling it. Dishonored was a good game, so it's cool it's getting another version to come out on this gen, I guess. Tony Hawk 5. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, right, is what it's called. The jury's out on that one for me because I grew up with the Tony Hawk games, so if that game turns out to be awesome, I would be looking into it. But right now, we don't really know a whole lot, but it's another game coming out for multi-platform. Rainbow Six, a series I'm not into, but I know people are very excited for it, and I understand why. I just realized I didn't see The Division on any lists. I don't think The Division is still set for this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. If The Division is this year, then it goes on my list, because I will be playing The Division on either PS4 or Xbox One. I'm doing a quick scroll, and I don't see it, so I feel like that game is 2016. But if anyone knows different, let me know below. But we're going to pretend it's a 2016 game. So no Division. Rainbow Six is a big deal. And the last game, Assassin's Creed, the hell's it called? I don't know. Assassin's Creed Saxophone, whatever the hell. The new Assassin's Creed game. Vanguard? Is it called Vanguard? Not into Assassin's Creed, but I know it's a gargantuan series, love it or hate it. And so it also, is worth mentioning and bringing up for fans of that. So there are those other games that are going to be great games for a lot of people that are going to be big deals and sell very well that do exist for the consoles coming out in 2015. I wanted to make a list of the games that I'll be playing and discuss a couple of the games that I won't be playing but that still exist. So that's what you got out of this random topic today. And, it's going to be a great year. There are so many great games. I've got almost 20 games here that I'm going to be playing. So it's not like I'm not excited for the games that I'll be playing. But I think it's interesting that it shows that the Wii U still has such an amazing life in it. If gamers were willing to support it, and if Nintendo was willing to also support it and show us why it's still a system that matters. But, 2016 is going to be really revealing for the industry and the generation as a whole, let alone for Nintendo, the Wii U, and whatever the NX turns out to be. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. But it's only the middle of August. We got many months to go. We have all these amazing games to look forward to and play in the next coming months. You've heard my list of games that I'm going to be playing. What are you going to be playing? Do any of these games or all of these games make your list? Is there anything else I brought up that you're super angry that I didn't bring up? Your favorite indie game, your favorite exclusive that I didn't see on a list and managed to talk about? Tell me what you guys think, and do you think that this really is helping show that the Wii U really isn't as dead as a lot of people want to think it is? Because I certainly feel that way. It's one of the reasons I wanted to make this video and put this list together. So, that's it. Thanks for tuning in and hearing my thoughts about what I'm going to be playing this holiday. Please share below what you're going to be playing this holiday for any platform that tickles your fancy. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. You rock for being viewers. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.